Hey everyone, welcome to Watch It, Paint It. In this video, well, we're going to be looking at the wrath of... What? Hey everyone, welcome to Watch It, Paint It. In this video, we're going to be looking at the Wrath of the Soul Forge King box. It's a new one coming out by Games Workshop. Just to let you know, guys, I got this completely free, so bear that in mind as I build the miniature that it might not build the same because it's biased because it's free. I don't know, but I'm letting you know that this was free, so bear that in mind. In this video, we're going to build it. We're going to build the big boy himself, the Vashtorr miniature, and that's all this is going to be for. A quick assembly video of doing that, so let's crack on with it. Well, now I'm at my desk and it's time for some snippy snappy, clicky clacky. I'm going to build up Vashtorr. I've got a bunch of stuff out here that I'm going to need, and I'd advise you have a similar setup. First of all, the instructions are going to be a massive help. As much as I love telling you guys what to do, I'm probably going to make mistakes, and the instructions are going to help guide us through it. I'm going to follow them and make the mistakes for you, so hopefully you won't have to. But yeah, we'll start with this. The next thing, looking at it, I think all the instructions are off this sprue A, so that's the only one we need to build Vashtorr. Somebody's going to correct how I say that in the comments, no doubt. But yeah, I think we just need this sprue, the one with his big arms on, fairly easy to find. Then you need the 80mm base. I don't accidentally get the 100mm base because I thought he was the biggest miniature sort of base wise in the set, and he actually is not. So this is the 80, it's the second biggest. Then you need some trusty nippers. So I use the Citadel, like expensive ones. I find them really good. You get really close to the sprue. I'm going to use a knife as well, just for smoothing over some mold lines and cutting off a little bit that the maybe nippers don't quite get close enough to. Then you need some glue, and I would highly recommend plastic glue. Actually, plenty of people on the channel have left me comments below letting us know to pick up Tamio cement, and I finally did it, guys. Poison. This is terrifying stuff, but what I didn't do is pick up the ultra thin one. So can you see the size of that brush? It's just way too big for sticking this particular miniature together. I have actually used it and it is really good, but I used it on a much bigger piece. I'm not going to use it in this. I'm going to use this plastic glue, and I will keep my eyes peeled for the ultra thin version. I still want to try it. If there's anything else you'd recommend trying, well, do let us know in the comments, because it's a learning experience for us too, and I'm happy to take on your advice. Just jump straight into it, flick it open, get onto... Look, it's Vashtorr, right? The Arkifane Vashtorr, I'm sure it must be. But anyway, let's start with the beginning, 1A, and for that you're going to need a bunch of little bits stuck to this big bit. What number is this big bit? Is that the A5? I think we need A5, and then we're going to stick A6, A7, and A8. So let's grab those pieces. A5 is pretty easy to find. There's matching pieces. We're going to be... Oh, does the sprue, are they identical? No, they're not. I just wondered if it was all like symmetrical on the other side, but it's not quite. Start with A5, let's get that off, and for that I'm going to be using these nippers. As I mentioned, they get really close. A lot of people recommend you snip away and then sort of trim down, but this just, to me, sits really flush. You get the flat part of the blade right up to the bit you want to keep, and get it as flat and smooth and flush as you can, and then just give it a quick cut, and then rotate it around and do the same on all of the other little bits of sprue that are holding it together. Last but not least, granting it is freedom. There we go, we've got the piece removed, and that's when the knife comes in. Now, I normally use a blunt knife, but I just can't find it because my workspace is an absolute mess. But I will use this nevertheless, which is a bit sharper. I quite like a blunt one because it's quite easy to sort of smooth this down without making a massive mess of it. Whereas you can see this physically has just cut that. So that's exactly why I use a blunt side. Now, you can also use the back of the blade, but I just find a blunt blade is just that happy medium between. So because I've cut a little bit too much into that, I'm going to use the blade and just smooth that over and just sort of get rid of that dint that I've made. You won't notice it, it'll be completely invisible, but do be careful if you're using a sharp blade. First time using this blade on the smoothing miniatures down, and you can see straight away I've made a little bit of a boo-boo, but that won't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I'm just going to run this knife very gently now, and we're going to go much more gently as we move around. Just check all the way around the seam of this model and just make sure there's no mold lines. We're just going to just scrape off any little bits of excess sprue that we've left on when we just nip that off. As I said, that those nippers do get ever so close though, so that it doesn't really leave that much on it. It's more that there's a big mold line on this particular piece. Depending how fussy you are about mold lines, and depends how much attention you want to pay on this bit to clean it up, I would recommend doing it. It makes a big difference if there's no mold lines visible by the end of your paint job. However, I also miss them, so it doesn't matter like how much time I spend on it. At the end of it, I'm going to have missed one, and it's going to make, I'm just got too much OCD. It's just going to bother me seeing that even just one at the end. So yeah, we'll just go around smoothing these over. With that piece completely smoothed over, cut away from the sprue, ready to go, we'll start hunting down the other ones, and we'll grab these all in one go because I think they're going to be single cuts. We need 5, 6, 7, and 8. Let's hunt those down. No, we don't. That was 5. We just need 6, 7, and 8. Still, where are they? They're like invisible. Found 7. Where's the others? There's 6. What the fuck? Am I a joke to you? Okay, at last that took like a decade, but you got 6, 6, and 7 on this part, and then all the way down here, you've got number 8. This little jobby did not look like that in the picture. Look at this. How does that look like that? Come on! But yeah, it's all the way down there, guys. So that'll save you some time. Also, I was totally wrong about them being single snips, wasn't I? There's like loads. So this one's really hard to get to. So this is a good example for where I'm going to cut it further away, and we're going to trim it down when I've got it sort of closer to my face hand. Just get a better look at it and see what I'm doing to it. So now it's free and it's easier to manipulate in my hands. Let's work out how we can get away with it. I can still just use the nippers, and we'll just get the tip in. Sometimes you just use the tip and it does all the work. You don't need to use the full force of your tool. And there we go. We just get that as flush as we can, and that little one's free. So tiny. Grab number 6. Then on the bottom side, number 8. So those 3 bits are free, and once again, I'll take the knife. I'll just show you this once more. I'm going to do this on every single piece that I cut off. I'm going to take it and I'm just going to smooth over any bits, and this one is particularly bad because these were very hard angles to get to. You can see this is curved. There was no sort of flat surface to get the nippers pushed in against. So this is definitely a piece you'll want to smooth down unless you can somehow get curved nippers to it, which I don't think exist. Again, this one, look, it's not really a flat piece, so I'm going to need to cut this down just a smidge, just to smooth that out. And it's exactly the same story on top of these like skull things. It's just not a flat surface. It's just ever so tricky to cut away cleanly, so you're going to want to smooth it over with some sort of tool, some sort of blade. Just try and get the best finish I can. And there we go, something like that. Use my fingers just to pick those last bits of fluff out of it. And then I'm going to do that to these 2 pieces, and from now on I'm going to do that off camera. I'm not going to bore you with watching me scrape, but I'm going to take every single bit of extra mold attached to every piece I cut off and smooth that over. We're on to the next major step, which is gluing stuff together, and I think this is going to get in the way, so I'll do that last. We'll start with this teeny tiny little circular one because it's not going to do anything, and we can see this bit's got this special like cat shaped notch. It looks like a little pussycat, and it's got a little hole in the back, so we're just going to stick some glue on it and line them up. I'm going to apply the glue to the actual notch bit, and we'll bring the other thing towards it, just limiting the chance of it accidentally catching this damaging glue. You don't want to get this anywhere it doesn't want to because it will melt the plastic. But you see that's cat way up. I'll just turn this cat way up and we'll just make the 2 meet. Like so, and then we'll hold that in place for a second. It'll probably start to set almost instantly. Next we'll do the one next to it. It's got a little notch there which is going to stick to the other piece, so put a little bit of plastic glue on there. Probably putting on way too much, but YOLO, ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah, you don't actually need very much, guys. You don't really want it to split out, so that was actually quite a lot. So try go less is more. You can always re-glue them if they pop off, and if they split out, you're going to melt random bits of plastic around, so do be a little bit careful, more careful than me, but you aren't doing it with a camera in front of your face, so you've got a little bit more accuracy built into you. Once that one's set roughly in place, you don't have to wait for this to completely dry, as long as you're not putting any pressure on it. We're going to do the same on this little skull exhaust thing, so 3 little dots, 1 in each hole, and then assume the skulls are facing towards us and mount them in there and sit them on flat and just give that a second to start setting. So that's the first piece ready and glued, and we'll just prop that to one side gently to finish off gluing together, and we'll move on to the next piece, which is the other side. So we're looking for 1, 2, 3 and 4 this time. 1's obviously nice and easy to find. It's this big boy here. Number 2 is in this corner, is the matching circle. 3's right next to it, and this time 4's right next to it. It's super easy to find. I didn't look around for half an hour. Back gluing this together, and this time we've got a little Pac-Man symbol on this one, and that takes the circly piece, this little star, And again, there's a little Pac-Man notch cut out. A little bit of glue on the notch. Which one's the notch? I mean the lump. This bit. Stick the glue on this bit. And then bring this one in nice and gently on top. Like so. Slot them together and give it a little hold. Spin it round. A little bit of glue on this one. Oh, got less on it that time. That's much better. Bring the little crowny piece, and again that just slots on and clicks into place there. And then just fitting the skulls in, it's 3 little dabs of plastic glue in these little nasty looking holes. Bring these skulls round and they'll slot in like so. Then we are on to the last bit of 1A, which is all the way over here. It's basically sticking these 2 parts together, adding A9, A10, A11 and A12. So let's find those on the sprue, get those ready. A9 is this blade sat all the way over here. A10 is this tiny piece that's really hard to find underneath this part of his crotch and this bit. So A10's down here. What even is that? A11's nice and easy to find. It's this big chest piece that's pretty noticeable. I saw it straight away. A12 is this face-hugging little piece next to the base piece as well. Notice that one, mostly because it looked like a face hugger. Let's get this free. Nip, nip, nipples. With them all cut out and smoothed down, it's onto sticking them together. And for this bit, this little symbol here is the try dry fitting it first, just to test out and make sure it all fits as you'd expect. So let's give that a little go. How hard is this going to be? Mine's looking like it's all going to fit, so unless I'm mistaken, I can just glue some of these bits together at least. Oh, that looks cool. So sharp. Reminds me of like the Geiger, some old comic book. With the dry fitting tested, it's time to add some glue, and I'm going to just splurt a load along this seam of the big bit. Get some in there because the ball goes in there, all the way along this flat edge, and this bottom bit too. I'm going to connect these 2 together. It looked like this was a no bother whatsoever to put these 2 together to begin with. You're trying to get this little ball here in that little hole there, as well as there's one down here too. So basically aim those 2 in and you'll get a nice connection like so. Next I'll add the center of him. So again, there's like this kind of like flat edge all the way around. So we'll get the glue on that bit. Take his little chest plate, click that in like so, and we'll get his little face hugger while we're at it, because I got glue on that bit, and click that in there as well. It all just fits in nicely. But yeah, as the instructions recommend, and I would just do a little dry fit first, because these are a lot of bits that are going to keep touching each other, and if you get them in the wrong place, it's going to go Pete Ham. What's Pete Ham mean? I meant Pete Tong. The spike wants to go this way around, facing backwards. I'm guessing backwards. I don't know, but facing that way with all the skulls and stuff on his back as well. And then he's got his little I don't know, clitoris just down here. My fingers are too fat, but when it just his little ding dong pointing downwards. I don't know what that's for yet, but hopefully it'll make sense when we build more of him up. There we go. All glued together, leave that to dry. We're on to the next step, and we're on to 1B. So this is what we just built, all of 1A. So we're just doing his legs next. So let's start with his right leg. We need 16, 17, and 18. Legs certainly much easier to find than most of it, so let's grab 16. Then on the other side, you've got 16 and 17. That's his sort of shin pad. He's a footballer. And his hoof, number 17 as well. Let's glue his leg together. I actually found the mold lines on this leg really bad. This isn't the best miniature for mold lines I've found so far. They're quite hard to reduce as well. Sorry, I didn't even say what I was doing, but a little bit on his ankle there, and his hoof just slots in. And then as for his shin pad, he's got this little bubble here, little dab of glue on there, and may as well get a bit on there too, because that'll glue the shin pad in place. And then it's just lining up the hole with the bubble. Hold that in place. I'm actually going to glue his leg to his body while I'm here as well, just so I don't mix these 2 legs up. So that's a bit of glue on the back here, and then these little holes here is what his little face hugger goes into. So this, remember, is his right leg, and it's just a matter of lining those back up, and in that goes. Look, that's gross. What a grotesque looking monster. Just should note, I actually put glue in all 4 of those holes, and you didn't need it in that one. Does that show through? Can't tell, but basically you want the first one, skip the second, third, and fourth. So I just put a bit of extra glue, didn't need it in there. Let's build his next leg. We need 13, 14, and 15. It's just repeating the process. Legs dead easy to find, and then now I know what I'm looking for. 14 and 15 are easy to find as well. Shin pad and hoof. It's exactly the same on his other leg. Going to put the hoof in here, and then a shin pad on here. And this time, I didn't notice this, but it's 2 little bubbles. You can't even put the wrong shin pad on the wrong foot. So hoof in here, shin pad on here. Job done. This time I'll just check how many of his face hugger things are supposed to go in here. So it's just, once again, I just don't want that second to last one, or second one, depending which way round you're counting. So let's just put some glue in here again. So get it up there, this one, and then some around his groin. I don't even know what that bit of your body's called, whatevers. But let's get a little bit of glue in there, slap it in, make sure that's fitted in snugly, give it a little pinch and let that dry. Give yourself a little pat on the back. We're flying through this. We actually accidentally did most of 1C, which was sticking on his legs, but we need 19, 20, and 21 just to finish his little, well, his 1C part. I don't even know what this is, his little loincloth. Obviously, 20's a piece of cake to find. It's this big boy right here. Snip, snip, nippity snip. 21 is nice and easy in this top corner, big breastplate. And 19's kind of in the opposite corner. Right, let's get them stuck together. So for this, you're going to want these. Is this the breastplate? Might be, where's it going to go? Yeah, this is his like belly plate. I don't know, it's not his chest piece, but it's going at his armor. And we need some glue under this little chevron here. So we get that under there. Give this a spin round. And then these just kind of slots in, resting against it, which then looks pretty sweet from the other side. Attaching his chest plate is a little bit harder than the instructions would seem, I think. It's not super obvious, but it goes on here. I would give this a dry fit. It doesn't suggest that, but we'll get a feel for where it goes. And with that in mind, I'm actually going to put the glue on this piece just to make sure I get it in the right place, because it's essentially these little raised pieces that need the glue on. Here, 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 and here. Now, this is where you need to be careful, because you don't want to catch this glue, put it on, so make sure you just carefully bring that in from the top over here. That goes over that lump, and then you'll be able to slot that nicely into position. And it feels really firm when it's in the right place, so that's good to go. Again, I would recommend just dry fitting the loincloth as well. It's not super obvious where this goes, but it's going to be sort of around his crotch, isn't it? Give this a fiddle until it feels correct. I'm actually wrong. It doesn't go on his crotch at all. It is his chest place.
I don't know, it's not his chest piece, but
look how much detail you're about to cover up. I wonder if you can build in without this piece. I think you probably can. It's mostly there, isn't it? But yeah, this is his chest plate, and it fits in just there, and it feels nice and snug, so that's the right place to put it. With that in mind, again, I'm going to put glue on the piece that I'm attaching, because it's a bit more obvious where it needs to go. These 4 little divots here. And then, yeah, very carefully, once again, remember it's his chest, line up that right piece, which is just here. So try and give you the biggest indication I can. We're on to part 2 now, which we're going to start off by building up his warhammer, and for that we're going to need 27, which is the big easy bit. We're going to need, what's this, 28 and 29s on the other side, so these 2 bits here, and then this bit, which does look a little bit like one of the hooves, which is the end of the warhammer number 30 over there, so let's free them up. Cleaned up those bits, let's get it built. So the tricky bit is adding these circular bits, and I would, again, just dry fit it, just make sure you got them the right way around. You want the little tail swimming towards the back of the warhammer, and this little bit pointing down, so make sure you get it on the right way. There's already a tail attached, so just follow that. And then, yeah, just a matter of getting some glue in these holes. Let's also get a bit on the head of the warhammer as well, because we'll put that on too while we're at it. Just do it all in one go. It's pretty straightforward. Don't put your fingers in the glue now, you just put it all over the thing though. That one just clicks in there, the other one on the other side, and you can pinch these 2 together, get a nice grip, make sure they're in correctly. And then this has a specific facing, it's like a heart-shaped one this time, but it does go on sideways. so you can't get that wrong. Didn't actually need to be, well, I don't think so. I think that would have looked good no matter what you did with it, but yeah, you can't really get that wrong. Pinch these all in place and let that dry a little bit. While that's drying, let's grab his arm, A31, which is the arm next to the base piece, nice and easy to find again, and glue this arm to the Warhammer, which is just some glue in these two little holes here, and slotting the little notches on his fingers in. I'd get a good strong pinch on this, make sure there's no gap, because it'll look awfully weird if there is. For his other arm, we're going to want to follow in this order, so let's find 32, 33. 32 is his bicep, which is next to his face, and 33 is on the other side opposite 34. Realize, is this a flamethrower? A bit jazzy. Glue the arm and the gun together, which is a bit of glue on this little piece here, and a little bit of glue in this dint here. That's a lot of glue, don't use that much glue. But click those two together and you'll have this going into his arm and this sort of flamethrower blade sticking out at the end. Back down to dry. Let's find 34, 35, down 35, 34, right, just these two pieces. So let's get 35 attached, which is the single blade, and that goes on this side here. And you're going to want to put some glue on this little notch here and in this hole here, and then this comes on this way around, so we've got some more bits to attach later on. And on this side you've got a little out of focus hole that goes on there, and that wire goes into that hole we just saw. And this is what I was saying earlier, don't use too much glue. You can see that squelching out, which is just going to make a mess, quite frankly. So let me just grab, I've got a cotton bud to hand, I'll just quickly dab that off before it gets too bad. But yeah, that's why we use a bit less glue. Do as I say, not as I do, guys. Then 34 is just on the other side of his hand. It's kind of his little pinky finger, and you've got this little dint here which needs a little bit of glue, and this little let's get some of that glue off. Learn from my past mistakes. Put a little tiny bit in there as well, and then you'll see that this wire goes in that bit. This little out of focus bump goes in that bump there. You can kind of see that his fingers line up really. That's the easy bit there. You can see that crack closing up, and we'll pinch that together, and his kind of hands getting complete, and that's what we're building. While that glue is setting, we're just going to do the last bit of this arm, which is his thumb, and he's got a kind of shield on here as well. So we want 36, which is this little boy here, and then his last pad over here, which looks like the shin pads. So hopefully nobody got them confused earlier on, but hopefully not. So we can glue those pieces on, and we know what this notch is for now. This is for his thumb going on, so I'll get a little bit on this. And then we'll take the thumb, and we want to slide that up and in on this. I'd actually give this a dry fit as well, get a feel for how that connects on. But yeah, you just slide it up, and it kind of locks into place like that. And then on the top side, he's got his little shield, which again, I'd go for a dry fit, get a feel for where it's going to go. But that's what you're looking for. That little knob there, and that little hole there, and then this little knob and this little hole as well. So you got two there. Get a little bit of glue on those. I added a little bit of bonus streak there because why not? Let's get that held in place nicely. I just broke his thumb. Should have let that dry a little bit more. I'll just fix that in a second. It's like a slip and slide, this piece. That was right bad. Just line up those notches. There we go. There we go. I just had it slightly in the wrong place. That's not going to matter too much because you can't see any of that anyway. Let's just get that thumb back on, and let me put this down to properly dry and set into place. We're on 2C, guys, and while those bits are drying, let's just build up his face to go on. We've done 2 arms, 2 legs. Let's do 2 faces. Actually, it's 3 bits of 1 face. That's what these are. 22, 23. It's like bits of his skull, and then you want 24, which is the nice easy bit to find. 22, 23 do actually want gluing together, so let's just run some along the seam. I'm going to dab that off because that was loads. Just on a little bit of kitchen paper, don't need as much as that. And then slot these 2 pieces together. And then just to dry fit again, but yeah, that slots on the back of his head. This is kind of his skull, isn't it? Slot his face on his skull. So let's just get some glue somewhere on this. Put his face on. Face on. It's like that movie with John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. Ooh. Oh, and then we're on to a bit I'm looking forward to, attaching all of these pieces together and really making this start to look absolutely awesome. Definitely dry fit this, work out where it needs to go. It does show you on the instructions, but it's like put some glue on the inside of his arm and then stick it somewhere. Which direction does his arm face? Well, this is harder than I thought. There it is. It's kind of pointing out to the side. Or is it? Is it there? Who knows? Aha! It's not as high as that. It's not this one, guys. That's going to be his wing, isn't it? It's the one below. So it's this bit here. That's what we're aiming for. And that goes in there. You can see the sort of tendons from his chest pulling across as well and lining up. Let's put some glue on this bit. Get that in and then hold it on firm and flush against it. Now we know where we're aiming. The other side is going to be a lot easier. There's a corresponding little knob, and we'll just get a little bit of glue on that. Which way? Oh, I didn't dry fit this. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. But we can see his arm needs to kind of face down. Ultimately, we'll put that in there, and yeah, piece of cake. Again, those tendons from his chest just line up. It makes it very clear exactly where this needs to go. I will dry fit his face because I don't want to put his head on upside down and look redonkulous. Oh yeah, look, it goes sideways. I would not have guessed. I thought it was straight on. It's impossible to tell from this picture. You'd have to go and look at the reference art, etc. But yeah, it's not too bad. Can't go too wrong. Just going to put some glue on his sort of neck stem here, around the back a little bit. And then yeah, just bear in mind it goes on a little bit sideways, but that's an absolute piece of cake to attach. You didn't mention gluing this like vent thing here, am I supposed to? I think so, because that does not quite slot in where I want it. So I'm just going to pull that off before it's dried too much, because there's a little notch here, just a little bit there, and one on this side as well. So I'm going to get a little bit of glue in there, because it's got these kind of hoses, and I want those in the right place. Actually, there's one on the top as well. Let's get a little bit of glue in this hole. It doesn't mention that. I want all of this to fit together lovely. Actually, I'm just going to use my knife to poke this in that hole, like so. I'm going to hold it in a little bit as it starts to set. Make sure the other side's in. The other side's not too bad. You can't really see it. But yeah, that side would have bothered me. It was kind of poking out of where it needs to connect. I think that was in the instructions, unless I'm being blind. So let's hope you saw that bit. And yeah, get a little bit of glue in there and poke those in those holes. It looks awesome. Oh, it's not as big as I thought it was going to be, but he's at Edward Scissorhands. It's starting to look really cool. 2D, he's got a little tail. We'll grab 25, 26. There's one of them, there's the other one, so we'll just snip them off. That's that. Tail's dead easy and obvious what to do. A little bit of glue on these two bumps here, and then take the other piece, and it just simply connects in the middle. As for adding it to his back, he's got two very prominent holes. They will be impossible for you to miss, so it's just a matter of getting glue down that ridge. That was easy. Tail of two halves, wasn't it? We're on to 2E, and 2F is going to be about the same, but we're on to his wingerdings, whatever these are, 38, 39 and 40, and then you need 41, 42 and 43 for the other one. Pretty much the same, aren't they? Can't miss this on the sprue, 38, massive wing blade thing. Ooh, that was one of the worst mold line pieces. I've probably missed loads as well. It took absolutely ages to clean that up, but we want a dab of glue in here, a dab on this little bump here. And then we're going to take this and we're going to put this little bump in that hole and try and get that little bump in that hole. So this is definitely one of the trickier bits. It's kind of hard to feel, this one. But essentially you're aiming for that. That lines up there. And that's all snug as a bug in a rug in place there. Then we're going to flip it over and do the same on the other side. Let's just check where that hole is. So you want that to line up here. And we're going to flip it. So it's this little bump here. So a little dab in the hole and on that bump too. These are not little dabs. Line that up and pop that in. Is that right? Yeah. Feels good. Again, it lines up with that bit. It looks like it's all connected. A bit of flesh to metal. Then I'm going to do exactly the same as on this 2F, and I won't bore you. And with both wingerdings are now built, I'm actually not going to glue them on, but I do want to show you. This is the A one. Hopefully you noticed it said A on it, and this is for his left shoulder. It just slots on that little bit there, and it's going to stick backwards like that. And then on the other side, it will fit on much in the same way. These are very symmetrical. This one did say B all over it. Hopefully that was clear and you saw it. I don't think I mentioned it, but I saw it while I was doing it. So that's going to go on there. I'm not going to glue those on now because I would like to do this as a sub-assembly paint job. I think it's just going to be a lot easier to paint these in any detail and get down here and as well get down the back of this arm. I'm just going to paint them as individual pieces and glue them together once I finish painting them. So the final bit to do is this 2G, and it's basically his base and gluing him to the base. So we're going to go and find, well, it's going to be easy because it's going to be whatever is left, which is simply the base and then these 3 little wormy things over here. Actually gluing the base together looks a little bit tricky. It's kind of hard to tell what's what, but if you've got the base this way around, which looks like a kind of person, there's his skull, his arms and his legs, then we're just going to want to run some glue along this little indent. You can hopefully just about see it, and that one takes the biggest piece, which is this one, and it just goes in that way, and it kind of just feels its way into the base there, but it fits really nicely in that little recess. The really long single piece goes in this bit up here, which is kind of his other arm. Just a little bit of glue in there, and then just take it, make sure this tail's pointing to the right, and that'll slot on top of that one like so. And then the third one is gone somewhere, walkabout. Third one's just straight down from those 2 here, and it's a matter of making sure the little unicorn tail's the one pointing downwards, and that just clicks in that one. Can't really go too wrong there. You're just adding some basing sort of details, aren't you? It looks pretty good no matter what you do, but that's the right order, and that's how it looks, sticking out like that disgusting thing it is. As for actually sticking into the base, you've got this little bit here and this hoof with a notch, and it fits on one particular way around, which is like this. Again, I'm not actually going to glue this together yet because I want to go and paint the base before I put him on it. It's just going to mean I can reach these little tentacle things and the base itself, as well as kind of his hooves. I'm just going to go for a bit of a sub-assembly. So that's as far as I'm going to go with building this up, but that's pretty much it. You've just got a few little bits left to glue together, and you're all done, guys. That was quite a blast to paint. It's not to paint. I haven't painted it yet. Quite a blast to build. It's not as big as I thought. Have I got anything to scale? I've got a little Necron nearby, so it's not. I mean, it is pretty big compared to that, but it's not as big as I was expecting. Yeah, really cool miniature. Enjoyed building that. Quite a lot of pieces, but it wasn't too difficult. Obviously, this is all a prelude to me painting this up, so do hit subscribe, hit like if you enjoy assembly videos, because I'm never sure if they're even worth making, and they take a heck of a long time. But yeah, hit subscribe, guys. Paint tutorial coming soon. Thank you all ever so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.